Guys, welcome back. And today I'm going to be reviewing Batman Begins, the 2005 film directed by Christopher Nolan. And man, does anyone remember the days when the DC movies were actually good? I mean, we're starting to look towards a bright future for the DC Extended Universe with Shazam, but man, this movie is really good. Like, I've seen it a lot before. Just letting you know, I don't know why I'm doing the series. I made a deal with my brother. Last year we watched some of like 3 or 4 of the MCU movies. I think we watched Civil War, Black Panther, Infinity War, and Thor Ragnarok. Not in that order, obviously, but yeah. So we had a deal. He'd watch some of those movies, and I would watch the Dark Knight trilogy with him. And I just wanted to share my thoughts because I haven't really talked a lot about DC and a lot about the Dark Knight trilogy. And I remember I watched this movie a lot when I was younger. My brother always loved this movie, and he still does. And I can see why. It's a really, really good movie. The first half is like really interesting. It's a more interesting version of what Man of Steel was trying to be. It's what Zack Snyder failed to do with Man of Steel, which was where they tried to cut back and forth between current Kal-El and young Kal-El. It works in this movie. You have like all these flashbacks, and then you have him like overcoming that fear with Ra's al Ghul and the. There will be spoilers in this video. It's been out for like over like 15 years. It's been out for like almost 15 years at this point, like 13, 14 years. So yeah, you know, so there will be spoilers, but like I just really like that aspect of the film where it goes back and forth between young Bruce and current Bruce, and he's overcoming those challenges, and it has a really interesting message to it, which is I think what Alfred says. Michael Caine does a great job. All the actors in this movie, they pick a lot of high caliber talent. You have Gary Oldman as Commissioner Gordon. He, of course, played Sirius Black in the Harry Potter franchise. You've got Liam Neeson as Ra's al Ghul. You got Michael Caine as Alfred, and you got Morgan Freeman as Lucius Fox. That's who I would call the main cast of the movie. You also have Scarecrow in the movie. He's there too. I forgot that actor's name. Um, but they all do a very good job in the film. And then I do think Rachel, the actress that played Rachel, they replaced her in The Dark Knight, and I think the actress who plays her in The Dark Knight is better. But she's not bad in this movie. It just felt like she was kind of holding something back with her performance. But Alfred says, we fall down so we can learn how to pick ourselves up again, or something like that. I think that's probably kind of the main message of the movie. And his father says, don't fear. And then um, I think something I really picked up from the first half, which was when he was trying to kill the person who killed his parents. He was going to, and then Rachel says, "Your father would be ashamed of you." I think that calls back to "Don't fear, don't be afraid." That's his last words that his father says to him as a child. And I think that goes back to him in current time, which is he was kind of acting out of fear when he was going to kill his parents' murderer. He was kind of acting out of fear there. His lust for revenge was kind of out of fear. And I think that goes back to the main message of the movie. Um, and all these movies have like the great main quote and message of the movie in them. I have watched The Dark Knight again. I watched it today. I'm filming this on Monday night, and I rewatched Batman Begins on Saturday. So it's been like a few days since I last saw it, so it's not as fresh in my memory. But I wanted to give you my thoughts on it, my revised thoughts. I've seen this movie like 4 or 5 times, and I really do think it's a really good movie. There's just something. It's a little bit of a movie case where the first half I think is more interesting for me than the second. Like it's a Captain America: The First Avenger thing, because most people, and I agree with this, Captain America: The First Avenger. The first half is really interesting with the origin of Steve Rogers, and then it devolves into montaging through World War II and Cap fighting people, and it turns into a cartoon cheese fest. This movie doesn't do that. It keeps the serious tone throughout it for the most part. But I think the pacing feels a little rushed, where um, when it just kind of suddenly Scarecrow is talking to Rachel, and then she finds the underground like engine. What they're trying to do is, um, what was it? They were trying to like destroy all the water sources in Gotham, and then so it would explode from the inside out. Um, like that felt a little rushed there. Like it felt like the pacing of the movie's a little weird. but it's just not really my style of pacing for films. I personally far prefer the pacing in The Dark Knight, but in this film the pacing is it's passable, it's fine, but I just didn't really love the pacing of this film. Um, and I don't really love Christian Bale as Bruce Wayne. Like, he's just boring. Like, Michael Keaton, and I do think I like these films. I need to rewatch the old Michael Keaton Batman film. I haven't seen the second one, and I haven't seen a lot of those old movies at all. Um, but I think I don't really like him as much as Michael Keaton. Like, he doesn't really have a likability factor, which I like that part of it. Like, but it's just like every time he makes a joke or like there's some humor or something, like he seems like he's kind of reluctant with his line delivery. People make fun of the Batman voice. I don't even hate it. I actually kind of don't mind the Batman voice. A lot of people hate it. It doesn't really bother me. I'm glad they actually. I'm pretty sure that was actually Christian Bale. It's kind of weird that like you imagine Christian Bale being Bruce Wayne. He's like this playboy type guy, and then one scene later he's like, like, you know, it's kind of weird to think of that as like Christian Bale actually doing that in the film. But I don't mind the voice. I just think the Bruce Wayne character, the way that he portrays him, is kind of bland. I haven't really seen Christian Bale in many other films, so I can't really give my opinion on him as Bruce Wayne. But I far prefer um, what's his name? Uh, um, I far prefer the Michael Keaton Batman or the Michael Keaton Bruce Wayne. I'm comparing Bruce Wayne's. I like him a lot as Batman. Whenever he is being Batman, I like him a lot. But as Bruce Wayne, he's just kind of bland, and those are kind of the most boring scenes in the film, in my opinion. And out of The Dark Knight and this one are the scenes with just Bruce Wayne. Um, but when he is Batman, he's more interesting, which I think is kind of weird. But like, you want to make them feel equally. That's why I love Spider-Man. Is like in every interpretation I've seen, they make the version of Peter Parker and Spider-Man equally interesting. With this series, I feel like I haven't watched The Dark Knight Rises yet. I actually haven't watched it at all the way through yet, which I'm really excited to do. But for the first two films, Dark Knight and the Batman Begins, the character is really bland of Bruce Wayne, played by Christian Bale. So I can't really say Christian Bale's a bad actor, and I don't really think he is at all. But he's just kind of a bland character in my opinion. Just the first half of this movie was really interesting to me, and I was really on board with the messages and the themes. And there's a lot of storylines and a lot of like little things. Like if you miss one line of dialogue, um, you won't understand a thing, and it's a very tight script. And I think that goes for the entire series, where it's a very like gripping and like it takes its audience seriously. If I were to say it like that, like it doesn't waste its time because these movies are long and um they really do pack a lot in. So they pack a lot of messages and themes into them. The score as well. I want to talk about the score. A lot. Oh yeah. Well. Yeah, yeah. The score is great. It's composed by Hans Zimmer. He does a lot of Christopher Nolan's movies. Um, I love Hans Zimmer. He did, I believe, the old Batman theme as well. And I think he did one of the Spider-Man movies. I don't really remember. Sorry if I got that wrong. No, it was Danny Elfman who did Spider-Man. But oh, Danny Elfman did the 1989 Batman. So he's done a lot of movies. He did Dunkirk, and with this movie, it's much more apparent in The Dark Knight. But there's a lot of background noise. Like the soundtrack in Dunkirk sounds a lot more like background noise and not like on the forefront. I think the score in The Dark Knight is better than this score. And I like The Dark Knight even more than this one. But I think in The Dark Knight, the score is just a lot better than in this film. Because the score for like the first half of the movie is kind of bland, and then it gets better towards the end. But it's also composed by Hans Zimmer and James Newton Howard, who actually composed the score for, I believe, a lot of the Harry Potter movies. Not the first few, I don't think, like maybe the first four. But he's definitely done it for the first two Fantastic Beasts films, and he's done a lot of the Harry Potter films, which I love. So that's great. I didn't know that at all, but then in the credits, it gives him credit. I don't think he did, oh no, he did for Dark Knight. I didn't know if he did for Dark Knight or not, but he did do the score for the Dark Knight. But yeah, the score is great, and my brother also brought up that I think this is a thing that Christopher Nolan does in all his movies, where he has something against using CGI, and he's a very practical director, which I do appreciate. Not a lot of directors do that anymore. And this movie still holds up, and my brother brought that up. You know, it's 13 years ago, and it really does hold up. Um, so I think that's great. It holds up a lot better than something like, let's say, Black Panther, which had a pretty bad CGI in areas, in my opinion. Um, but there's a lot of great practical effects in this movie, and it looks really good from that perspective. But yeah, I guess moving on to the ratings for this movie, guys. I really love the Batman Begins movie. Like I say, it's great to watch these movies and remember when DC was actually good. So I think I'd give this movie an A minus or an A. Like there's some nitpicks, like the pacing in some areas is kind of boring. The Bruce Wayne character played by, um, what's his name? The Bruce Wayne character played by Christian Bale is kind of bland to me. Just kind of a bland, boring character. But the supporting cast is great. You got once again Gary Oldman, um, Michael Caine, Morgan Freeman, and oh man, what's his name? Liam Neeson. You got all this great supporting cast, and they bring a lot to the film. Lucius Fox, Morgan Freeman's character, definitely a comic relief, but they all bring a lot of great stuff to the table. So yeah, I'm gonna give this movie like an A minus or an A. Kind of, it's if there was an existing rating like between an A minus and an A, it would be that. Like I don't know, guys. Like I don't know if you get what I mean there, but like it's really hard to rate this movie because I really do like it, but I think the second half is not as good as the first half, and the pacing is a little weird in areas, and I find the Christian Bale Bruce Wayne character kind of boring. But yeah, you guys let me know what you think of Batman Begins, and what you thought of my review in the comments as well. I don't know why I'm doing this. I will be re-reviewing some of the MCU movies, not all of them, but I want to rewatch the Iron Man movies and the two first Avengers movies to give you my thought. I'll give you my thoughts on them, but I just want to rewatch them in general. Um, but yeah, you guys let me know what your thoughts are on Batman Begins and what you thought of my review as well. I'll be posting probably a review on The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises coming up soon. I don't know why I wanted to do this series. I'm just rewatching with my brother, and I thought I might as well cover them. But yeah, you guys let me know what you think of Batman Begins and what you thought of my review in the comments as well. And I hope you guys have a great day. Take care. Bye.